Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome back to the free-to-play review. So today's topic is going to be the latest iteration of the Deck of Fate. And for once, I actually am a fan of a Deck of Fate. This is a very, very rare occurrence for anyone who is a fan of the channel. But yes, we have the anniversary Deck of Fate celebrating Plarium, the game company's 17th anniversary. So yeah, it's a solid mix. It's one that's actually accessible for the masses. So you can see I've already generated some points, and I do plan to do quite a bit more. Probably not all of it, of course, but a decent chunk nonetheless. But yeah, so it is a combination of gear hunters and champion training. So there's no shards, no soul stones or anything like that. Just good old-fashioned playing the game by running dungeons and or running the campaign, and of course leveling champions in the tavern and whatnot. The main appeal of this particular Deck of Fate is that you have some reaction banners up for grabs. So if you're not regularly winning CVC, specifically in tier like 6, I guess, to get 6-star as far as like legendary, then this is a decent opportunity to get a handful of banners that may or may not be useful. They might have terrible stats, they might have good stats, you never know. But I don't know about you guys, let me know in the comment section down below. But for me, at least, winning CVC is a very, very tough endeavor just because of how pay to win that game mode is. So I'm definitely interested more so in reaction gear, as you might contrast this with my reaction to when they offered up the swift parry and deflection accessories a few weeks or months ago. For anyone who's unfamiliar with the Deck of Fate, there are always 40 cards in the deck, and the breakdown of the cards are as such. There are 15 commons, 13 rares, and 12 epic cards. And of course, the main gimmick of Decks of Fate are that if you get 3 of a kind in a row, then you can roll on these respective tables. And the good news is there is pinned rarity, so you get to preserve a streak of rare and or epic cards. And once again, because there are 12 epic cards, if you were to flip the entirety of the deck, that means you are guaranteed 4 rolls on this juicy epic table, assuming you pin all the epics that you get along the way. And of course, if you get a rare along your epic streak, you kind of have to forego that streak, unfortunately. So if you do get rare streaks, they kind of have to be in between your epic streaks, which may or may not happen depending upon your luck. And yeah, as we discussed here, there's a table for the values for the dungeon divers and the champion training aspect. So really quickly, we can hop over to the spreadsheet, which will be linked in the description box down below. And in fact, let's zoom in a little bit to make it easier to see. But like I said, this Deck of Fate is pretty darn straightforward. You either farm a campaign, champion training, or you farm some dungeons. So we have the gear hunter section here. We have all the values from the table plugged in, and this is just a table to show you that if you run the most common dungeon types, normal 20, normal 24, normal 25, hard 6, and hard 10, these are, how efficient your stages are in terms of currency per energy, and then just the average amount of currency you'll get per run. So you are actually rewarded in this instance. You'll get more points the higher difficulty you do. Of course, the gear quality increases on average, but the most efficient stage, if you just want to be min-maxy, is still normal mode stage 20. And then of course, you'll get credit if you're running campaign, you're running champion, or doing champion training. You're going to get some credit for the shields you get from the campaign along the way. And then for the champion training aspect, you can definitely grind this as much as you would like over the next 4 days, and you can get a decent amount of points. So for anyone who's unfamiliar with the spreadsheet, we do have 2 columns of data here. One is per capita, meaning this is the amount of points you would get for making each tier of chicken and or a 6-star champion. And then the upper row, cumulative, just means it's accounting for the fact that you have to feed multiple numbers of each tier into the next tier to craft that higher tier up and through a 6-star champion. So in other words, if you wanted to max out the entirety of the deck, you basically would have to 6-star 4 champions from scratch, getting over slightly 10,000 points per 6-star champion that you make, again, from scratch. Now, of course, that is a lofty goal to pull off in 4 days, so that's probably not going to be the outcome for most people, but nonetheless, it is nice to know that you can get, you can do the entirety of the Deck of Fate just by farming the game versus having to use more fixed, or limited rather, resources. So like I said at the top of the video, I do actually plan to participate in this Deck of Fate. One, I do, just like I said, don't really win CVCs as much, and so I wouldn't mind getting a hand or just a shot at some decent reaction banners and maybe some of the other rewards along the way. But also, it's accessible, and most importantly, it's not live in the game yet, but they are doing, for the first time ever, it's going to be a 5x on speed gear from Dragon starting tomorrow, which also happens to overlap with CVC. So I'm going to be spending a decent amount of gems because I'm over my gem ceiling. I usually cap myself at 5,000 gems, and anything above that I spend on, you know, Sand Devil, Phantom Shogun's Grove, or whatever else, champion training, whatever I'm farming at the moment. And because they announced that a few days ago, I've basically been hoarding my gems for the past couple of days, and I just plan to blitz as much as possible into Dragon once CVC and the tournament and the drop frenzy start. Like I also said earlier, I don't really intend to fully complete the entirety of the deck. This 3,000 I've accrued so far is just from champion training. I've just been using my normal daily accrual energy over the past day just because I had to spend energy on something. But I'm basically saving, you know, all of my refills in the near term, all the ones from today, all the reset ones, all these, etc. Got the ones from the week as well, holding on to those. But all of that energy plus my gem stock is going to be used in Dragon just to try and see if we can get some speed upgraded pieces on my account. So in terms of a formal recommendation, you know, depending upon your desires to get reaction gear and or other goodies from the Deck of Fate on your account, this again is a really accessible opportunity to get some of these gear pieces and just a good accessible Deck of Fate to participate in. Of course, there is a fusion starting later this week on Thursday, but you know, you have 3 more days to do whatever you want to do. And I definitely recommend that you just try to participate in Dragon just because it's going to be a 2x on speed. I know some people think there's not a ton of a value in you know, the core dungeons anymore, but I happen to not be in that camp. I do think that certain gear sets you can never have too many pieces of. So if you get a lovely 6-star something or mythical, legendary, whatever speed piece, that could be an absolute game changer for your speed champions on your account and just other champions on your account who just need that speed gear. So these kind of stars are aligning here in my mind as far as, you know, availability of a decent Deck of Fate. You don't have to flip all the cards in the deck. You could just flip whatever you get, and in the meantime you're going to be farming a good dungeon, which should have a good return on speed gear overall, which just increases your chances of potentially getting a good piece just by rolling more pieces, on top of being able to farm a dungeon during CVC and get points for that as well. So to me, this is just a great opportunity, for at least for the next couple of days, to spend your energy farming Dragon. But if all else fails, you can also farm the campaign. You can also work on champion training. In the meantime, that will also get you a decent amount of points in the Deck of Fate. So there you have it. That's going to do it for my free-to-play review of the anniversary Deck of Fate for 2026. Let me know in the comment section down below what your plan is relative to this Deck of Fate. Are you going to be champion training? Are you going to be running Dragon alongside me? Or are you going to be just skipping it entirely because you'd rather save your resources for the next upcoming fusion? As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It'll just help out the channel, and feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on this channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.